Schabusiness. Very strange name, but it's got nothing to do with the case. It's just her name. Taylor Schabusiness. And Shad, with an SH, Shad Thyrion. And this case occurs on February 22nd, 2022, so this year. So let's start out talking about Shad. So he was 24 at the time of the crime. He was born in Green Bay, Wisconsin on September 7th, 1997. He had two parents, Tara and Michael. They were not married at the time of the crime. I don't know if they were ever married, but he had two parents. And he was one of four siblings. He attended Bayport High School, and later he worked for his family business. Unfortunately, I don't know what that business was. Shad enjoyed camping, games, art, wood carving, music, and spending time with his family. He was known to be very kind and compassionate, and was always thinking of others before himself. Unfortunately, he also had a pretty serious drug habit. Now let's talk a little bit about Taylor Schabusiness. Her maiden name was Taylor Coronado. She was the same age as Shad, and they went to school together. Her mother had died when she was 11, and sadly her father had molested her all through her childhood. She had her first stay in a psychiatric facility when she was in 7th grade and had attempted to take her own life. She had been diagnosed with bipolar disorder, ADHD, and post-traumatic stress disorder. People who knew her said she had a sex addiction and that she was obsessed with Jeffrey Dahmer, who you all know is a serial killer, also from Wisconsin, her home state, who had strangled and dismembered many of his victims. Now, Taylor also had a very serious problem with drugs. She was known to abuse crystal meth, cocaine, marijuana, and Xanax. She also had a pretty serious criminal history prior to the date of this crime that we're going to get to. She was arrested in June of 2020 and charged with battery or threat to a law enforcement officer, a felony, and resisting or obstructing an officer. She was found guilty and was sentenced to 3 years probation and 60 days in jail. And then shortly after that, in August of 2020, she was charged with bail jumping and resisting an officer. That same month, she was charged with misdemeanor possession of drug paraphernalia, resisting an officer, and felony fleeing from an officer in a vehicle. She was sentenced to 2 years probation in that case. Now, she was given an electric ankle monitor as part of that probation, and she was supposed to be wearing it at the time of the crime that we're going to get to. She had removed it herself somehow a few days prior, and there was a warrant refers to her as, quote, Queen Taylor Schabusiness. And he also wrote, quote, I do trust my beautiful wife. I will do anything to protect her. Stay strong, baby boo. I love you. And he also writes, you know, where they ask, what is your job on Facebook? His job is, quote, to make sure my queen knows that no matter if we're apart or not, that I will do whatever is necessary to get her back next to me. Never will I give up on her, nor will I ever lose confidence in our Schabusiness empire. ... It's very long, okay, so I'm not gonna read the whole thing, but it was a very, very lengthy. Alright, so let's move to the date of the crime. Now, as I said, Taylor's husband was in prison, and she wasn't happy with what he had done anyway, and she was involved in a sexual relationship with Shad. This relationship included a lot of drug use together and BDSM. So, around 9:30 p.m. on February 21st, 2022, Taylor and a friend of hers came to pick up Shad from his mother's house. And they went back to her apartment, where they smoked some marijuana. Then the friend left, and Taylor and Shad smoked some crystal meth, and then she shot both of them up with trazodone. And after all that, they left her apartment, and they went back to his mother's house and headed down to the basement. There they began to have relations, and they took out 2 sets of chains, which they were going to use for strangulation of each other, I guess. You know, as part of their relations. And he took one of the chains, he wrapped it around his own neck. He lay face down on the bed. She got behind him and started pulling the chains. Now, this was part of the plan, okay? But, I mean, you assume that she's going to stop at some point, right? Well, that's not how it went. So she's pulling and pulling, and she decided she was liking this a lot. She was really enjoying this feeling. She wanted to see how it would end, you know. She pulled and pulled and pulled. His heart is still beating, as she says. She can feel it. And I guess he's probably fighting her. He starts to turn purple. is in the bucket. Can you even imagine that feeling? I can't imagine how awful it would be, but I kind of am, I'm feeling what it could have been like. So she calls the police. And they come right down there. They check it out further. In the bucket is not only his head. Now, this is gruesome if you want to skip ahead like 30 seconds. Not only is his head in there, but his male organ is in there, as well as bodily fluids and 2 knives from the kitchen. So they look further. Now the bed in the basement is covered with blood. The shower down there is covered with blood. There's blood on the concrete. There's just blood everywhere, okay? Nobody has really cleaned this up, let's be real. Upon further and further searching, they find a torso in a tote, like in a storage tote. Now, they ask Tara, the mother, who was he with? Who was he last seen with? And she says it was Taylor. So they head over to her place, they see the van, they're kind of peering into it, and she instantaneously walks out the door of the apartment. And she's covered with dried blood all over her clothing and herself, like la-di-da, nothing major, So they're like, do you know why we're here for you? And she says, because of the warrant. So I think she meant, because she had removed her ankle monitor. So they bring her down to the station. Meanwhile, someone is over there searching her van. And what do they find in her van? It's gruesome again. They found a crock pot with legs in it. So, they get her down at the station and they begin to question her. She's not saying anything. They tell her about the head that Tara had found. And her response is, quote, "That's effed up." But as they continue to talk to her, she spills the whole tea. She tells them that she didn't lazy. That seems like a ridiculous time to get lazy. So it's not as if she tried very hard to cover her tracks at all. No, she really didn't. I mean, come on. Now, she was charged with first-degree intentional homicide, mutilating a corpse, and third-degree sexual assault. She had 2 competency evaluations, and it was found that she is competent to stand trial, which has not yet happened. So her trial date is tentatively set for October 24th, 2022, and she has pled not guilty, or her lawyer has pled that for her. So that is the case. What do you think? I mean, clearly she did it. I don't think anyone has any question in their mind about that. Now, they did not say not guilty by reason of insanity. So I assume that that is not the way they're going. So I'm really curious to know what the defense is going to say. How is she going to be not guilty? How? Are they going to try to throw away her confession? Would that even matter? Even if they threw away the confession, she's covered with blood, and she also had scratches on her, they said. So I would think that already there you have that. I cannot imagine how she's going to get off. I would think it would make sense to plead guilty and try to get some kind of deal. I'd be really curious to see what happens at trial. But now, what is up with this woman? I mean, okay, we all know she had a horrible childhood, right? Her mother died when she was 11. Her father abused her. She had severe mental illness. Okay. Those things are not enough to do what she did. Nope. Not at all. I mean, nothing is enough to excuse murder. And she's found competent to stand trial. She is able to listen to a question and respond to it without getting distracted. So they're saying that she is not psychotic. Okay, so she has all kinds of mental illness. We know that. We accept that, but she is not psychotic. She knows what she did. Even though she had no remorse, she knows it's wrong. She did try to lie about it for about a minute, right? She wasn't, told to do this by the voices. You know what I'm saying? So, what is the defense going to be? Now, are they going to try to say something about the drug use? She was so high on drugs at the time. Blah, 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 that kind of thing. I mean, granted, she was. That's no excuse. She gave herself the drugs. It's just like if you kill someone while you're driving drunk. That's your fault. You chose to drink. Yes, the drinking is what made you have the accident, but you drank. You did it of your own free will. So she took those drugs on her own free will. A crazy combination of heavy, heavy stuff. I've never heard of shooting up trazodone. But I mean, people shoot up everything, right? So she took these heavy, heavy drugs. And then she does this horrible deed, but even a couple days later, when she's not high anymore, she's still talking about it like a mad person. this isn't gonna take the meds, you know?